Well, DJ Sbu, as he's more casually known, is shaking things up, and it's not just on the mixing desk. Earlier this year, Sibusiso Leope made the Forbes list of 13 highly influential artists in Africa. He is an inspiration to many young South Africans. So let's chat to him now about his charity work and his vision for South Africa's youth. Now, I just was talking to you briefly off air. Your list of accolades is just very, very long. I know you've recently been nominated for Future Leaders Role Model of the Year, among many things. How did you manage to take a career in entertainment industry, which is usually associated with fun times and easy living, and turn it around into something more inspirational?
Thank you very much, number one, for having me. I really appreciate it. I think at first my parents encouraged me to, become a graduate, and I had to study electrical engineering, and I qualified. I did my in-service training, I practiced a little bit, and then I got into entertainment. So getting into entertainment, I was somebody that had acquired a diploma, some sort of academic background qualification. So getting into entertainment and doing well all these years, I started seeing that comes with a lot of responsibility, and I started seeing myself doing well. But every time I drive into eNCA, you see a lot of other young people that are not doing well, who are your peers, and some of them you grew up with them, So I started wanting to do something, and I just didn't think about it and want to do it. I did it,
Tell us a bit about that something that you
We started about 7 years ago visiting schools, motivational talks, strictly township schools, and then we grew from just visiting schools into plugging in with the Department of Social Development's feeding scheme. So we all got a feeding scheme program, and then we moved from that and we started adding in a mentorship program around our foundation. I've got a foundation called Slef, which stands for the Sbu Leope Education Foundation. And then from there I started knocking on doors and companies because of the influence that I have to ask for bursaries and scholarships to pass on to these kids. So for the past 8 years, apart from motivational talks, feeding schemes and mentorship programs, we started having graduates. I mean, some of our kids are now have graduated, they're now working and so forth.
Talking about the influence that you have, you've evolved so much in the industry in which you find yourself. From a radio DJ, and then came the likes of Zege and his identity. The jury is still out on whether or not he is yourself, but that's not the focus of the discussion today. You've also become a TV host, motivational speaker, a co-owner of a production company. Tell us about the evolution of DJ Sbu and how you've managed to stay ahead of your game.
I think it's very important. My parents taught me work ethic. From when I was young, from school, I'd go in things spaza shop, my parents' store. And then from there on weekends, I'd be working at my grandmother's house. So the work ethic has been instilled in me from when I was young. I've never had the notion of thinking that somebody must do something for me, but I felt I need to do something myself. But also being in the entertainment industry, you need to remember that it's not a career that a lot of people live long in. And it's also not a career that's guaranteed to last. And that's what my parents have always been worried about. But also being in the entertainment industry opens up other doors, and I started getting into business. I started doing television, I started doing radio, I started producing music, owning a record company, and then business opportunities started opening up. And now I'm sort of an aspiring entrepreneur who also runs a charitable organization.
And it is Youth Month, so the message to the young people, I think, it is hard work. It's not just glitz and glamour. It's a lot of hard work. But I want to know from you, are you not afraid that being a jack of all trades will make you a master of none?
I mean, I'm not a jack of all trades. I'm a progressive youth. I'm somebody in South Africa that gets things done. I get it done. If I fail, I move on to the next thing. If I fail, I move on to the next thing. I've got an entrepreneurial mind, just like my parents taught me. If you try a project, it fails, you move on to the next one. Right now, we've come on with Leadership 2020 seminars. We've got a vision for the year 2020, where we bring in a host of all these great speakers to come through and speak to our audience. We had a sold-out Sandton Convention Center on the 17th of May. We've got an intimate one happening this coming Saturday in the morning at the Regenesis Business School for 500 rands, where we've got Dr. Tony Luck and Marlon Smith. But the reason why I came up with these Leadership 2020 seminars was to inculcate a culture of leadership. You can be an employee instead of being an employee. You can be a leader instead of being a follower. You can rise above mediocrity instead of just becoming like everybody else. You can be different, and not a lot of people are going to like you, and it's going to be a lot of hard work, and you got to keep challenging yourself. So that's what we're doing with these Leadership 2020 seminars. And I encourage a lot of people out there to get into our website, find out what we do. It's leadership2020.co.za, or they can get into our foundation's website, which with the acronym SLEF, which stands for Sibusiso Leope Education Foundation. So it's SLEF, slef.co.za, and just find out about the work that we're doing.
something that you mentioned is that you try something, if it doesn't work, you move on. So which means that with success also comes a degree of failure.
A lot of
and
it.
Also controversy, because
Yes.
you've been engaged in a few controversies, a road accident, we know some rumors about your company not paying one of the artists, etc. What have you learned from A, the failures, and B, the controversies, and what can young South Africans pick up from how you handled it?
Yes, I think a lot of people, they focus on the negatives. You magnify the negatives. And you see, if you're clean with your heart and you know there isn't, you can sleep at night because you know you're clear with your conscience. And whatever other people say, it shouldn't bother you. I think you must just focus on the blessings and the positives and just your goals. You know, I always say this, and this is my motto. I tweet it all the time, at least once a week. I always say, focus on what matters, ignore nonsense, return hate with love, kill them with kindness, and bury them with success.
There we have it. Thank you so much for joining us. That was Sibusiso Leope, better known as DJ Sbu.
News that moves. eNCA.com.